we still have a fairly thin audience, but I think we can go ahead and get started. We have a couple of things in the front end that I think will be okay if people join into later. And then the meat of the meeting will be a Q&A session where some of our Magma developer leads and maintainers will be joining us. I see Amar is with us, and I'm expecting Ulas as well. As long as the session stays small, I think we can treat this fairly casually and have a very dynamic Q&A. So if anything comes up that raises questions, please feel free to speak up. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to start this evening with some introductions, brief introductions. We do have a video that was presented at the Open Infra Project conference a few weeks ago that we'd like to share. It's a very quick 2-minute user story that I think is quite interesting about that uses the Magma project. And we want to introduce a couple of new maintainers that have joined the project that we're very excited to have with us. And then just go over a quick project overview and status on where we're at, focusing tonight on the 5G development. And then jump right into the Q&A. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is switch the presentation and run the video that was shown at the OIF meeting a few weeks ago. So please bear with me while I change the share on my screen. I think I am sharing the video. If someone could confirm that for me, and I'll start it.
You're good to go.
Yep, I see it.
Okay. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marielle Triggs, and I run a small nonprofit called MuralNet. I'm joining you live from Alaska. What we do here is we work with Indigenous communities in order to design, build, and control their internet access future through deploying fixed wireless networks. Rural broadband is a tough issue, and one of the things that makes it so tough is getting spectrum and making these networks economically viable. And one of the key ways to do that is using open source LTE cores, such as Magma. Instead of having to pay $70,000 plus for a proprietary core or some monthly subscription fee, Magma allows people to download the whole core off the internet, off of GitHub, learn how to run it, and that's perfect for our pilot deployments. Now, we normally help folks get started with their networks, and in 2020, what we found is our pilot program was actually an excellent way of addressing the COVID-19 crisis. These emergency builds that they evolved into were excellent to get communities online, get elders access to the healthcare, students access to the distance learning, and families and people just access to the outside world so that they can try to continue with the most normal way of life as they can. Now, once you have a pilot network and you learn what you want to do with it, you can form your broadband vision. That's where scalability came in. And a great example of that is the Macaw tribe. They started with just $10,000 worth of equipment in order to connect about 25 homes in May. And by October of this year, they've already have plans to expand and connect every single household within their community. I want to thank Cisco for actually recognizing the power of these fixed wireless networks running on open source cores in order to make sustainable tribal networks. And what I would hope for you folks that would be able to do is help us make these open source cores more accessible and more scalable, and by making more hardware compatible with it and make GUI much more accessible for folks to learn and train on. So thank you so much for all your efforts. And if you want to learn more about us, please join us at muralnet.org. Thank you.
I hope that was an interesting presentation to get us started. It's interesting to me that they leave us with a very specific call to action, which is to work to get.
Good. Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming after the party. You guys are party so. I like that. All right.
I think.
I think that's auto-playing from a different video.
Yeah, I don't need to be muted.
Let me
Updated or some instructions that you guys.
let me cause that to stop. That was my fault. Apologize for that, everyone. So MuralNet and a little bit of a meeting after a very nice party. So thank you for giving us time for that. I think the MuralNet call to action at the end is very apropos for what we're doing with Magma. And she said there's two things that would specifically help deployments like theirs. One is working towards compatibility with a variety of hardware and a broader range of equipment. And the other was improvements in the GUI and the management of the system in order to make it easier for and simpler for carriers to deploy or users to deploy. And I think that's an amazing set of things that we can jump onto. One thing I'd like to do this evening, since we have such a small group, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to take a walk through and have each of you introduce yourself really briefly and the company that you're with. So I'll start. I'm Philip Ritter, and I'm working with Facebook as the Magma community manager, community liaison for the open source project. And if others want to chime in, not required if you don't want to, but we'd appreciate hearing from you.
I can go next. Hey, I'm Amar Padmanabhan. I'm the lead engineer on the Magma project. And hey, everybody. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kendall Waters. I work for the Open Infrastructure Foundation, and I am the community manager helping out with Magma.
Thanks, Kendall.
Hello, everybody. This is Hardik Jain here. I work with a company called GenXCom. We're using Magma for a private LTE project. Thank you. Good to meet all of you.
Thank you, Hardik.
Hi, this is Julio. I'm from Brazil. Work for a system integrator Magma company here in Brazil, WLCtel.
Thanks, Julio.
Hi, I'm Vance Shipley. I'm the founder of SigScale. We produce an open source online charging system, PCRF, and HSS AAA function that we're interoperating with Magma on.
Thank you, Vance.
Hello, I'm Dmitry from Utah de Nicaragua. We are a network operator using Magma for commercial LTE deployments.
Thank you, Dimitri.
Hello, this is Bill from Huawei and from China, and I'm board member of OIF and OpenStack project, and we do some innovation project internally, and I'm looking to find out what's the interest part for Magma.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Horace from Shanghai, China. I'm from Infrastructure Foundation as well. I'm China Community Manager. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you, Horace.
Hi, this is Allison Price from the Open Infrastructure Foundation as well, and I help with a lot of the marketing efforts around Magma.
Thanks, Allison.
Of course.
Hello, this is Huaxin Zhang from China Telecom. We're interested in Magma, but we don't know much about that.
Good morning, Huaxin. Okay, well, I think we should probably just move forward at this point. Just a couple of other things that we want to talk about this morning or this evening, again, depending on where you are. One is we're very excited that the Magma maintainers have elected to have 2 more maintainers join us. As you know, we have a merit-based process where people who are making significant contributions to the project may be invited by the maintainers to join in as additional maintainers. And we've added Vitaly Kostenko and Matthew Mosan both from FreedomFi, and they've made significant contributions to Magma's CI or continuous integration process. And we're very excited to have them. They're code owners for the CI stacks. And if you get a chance, welcome them. They're both available on the Slack, and they are very involved in the Magma project. We also wanted to take a few minutes and just give a quick overview. This won't be as detailed as we did last month about the Magma project itself for people who are new to the project and just joining in. The key part of Magma core itself, and it's built out of 3 pieces. There's the access gateway function, which is the call processing functions of the wireless core itself, an orchestrator to manage those call functions or those access gateway functions, and a federation gateway that's used to expose 3GPP compliant interfaces to other systems that we need to interoperate with Magma. Magma's access gateway itself today is a fully functional core supporting 4G, serving gateway, packet gateway, HSS, and MME functions, managed Wi-Fi or carrier Wi-Fi functions. And the project is currently in the process of adding 5G capabilities or 5G standalone capabilities to the core. And a lot of the development work that's been done over the last 6 months has been around those 5G activities. So it is an all access core. It's intended to be vendor and transport agnostic. We can work with any G-Node B, E-Node B capabilities for 4G or 5G, regardless of vendor. For those that are compliant with TR69, we can manage the radios as well. Some others, like you might see from the large network equipment providers, may still require their own network management system for the radios, but that's not a Magma issue. That's how the radios were constructed. Internally, we've done a lot of work to keep modern software engineering practices, modern methods of state management, and using gRPC interfaces between the components of Magma to make it very flexible and easy to add capabilities and work on the project. So we're very proud of the work that's been done and the community that's come together to build it with us. I want to talk briefly about a timeline for the 5G minimum viable core that we've been working on. This has been work that's been going on over the last year in association with the Telecom Info Project's Open Core Network activity. That's what OCN refers to. And we've through that effort at the same time moved Magma into a community project, an open source project. We're here, I should have moved that to December, and we're preparing for a lab demo of the 5G capabilities that should be happening before the end of the year. And then early in first quarter, with or shortly after Magma's 1.4 release that we discussed on the call last month, we'll be deploying the 5G capabilities integrated into the Magma project. The current contributors to the project, and it's been a very active project over the last 6 months, has been Facebook Connectivity, the Open Air Interface Software Alliance, the Open Infrastructure Foundation, Radisys, ACL Digital, formerly known as CalSoft, Freedom Fi, and Wave Labs. And we are open to community contributions to be approved by the maintainers or the committers of the project, and would love to have additional participation going forward. And then finally, before we drop into the Q&A section, I would like to point out that all of this, of course, is part of the community project that you're invited to and welcome to join. You can visit our website, magmacore.org, to find out a little bit more. The code itself is on GitHub, and we have a very active Slack community supporting the project. There's actually a couple of hundred members on the Slack today, and we're getting many posts per day on the project itself and on some of the sub projects as we move towards the 5G deployment. And then lastly, I'd like to mention the Magma Developers Conference in February, on February 3rd, daytime Pacific time, so 8:30, starting 8:30 to about 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be holding a video virtual conference regarding details of Magma, some Magma user stories, some development discussion about Magma, and everyone is invited to join that. We'll be repeating the link on the Slack channel and on the Magma Announce channel that I think most of you used to find this meeting, with details on that conference and a way to RSVP and get access to the Zoom. I don't really have anything else prepared for this evening, except to invite an open Q&A session for the rest of the time. And I know Amar is here. We should have been joined also by Ulas Kozat, although I don't see him on the list this evening. But we'd like to open the floor to a Q&A session regarding the project. Yeah, it's an open floor, open discussion, if anyone would like to chime in.
Yeah, Philip.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, this is Zichang from Chat Mobile. Could you please help to send me general slides about our project status? This because I need, as the open source program manager, I need to seek resources to internal to join our project. I need to show them what Magma do and what's status now? Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. We do have a couple of presentations that we can share.
Yes, yes.
I think the best way maybe to point you to the Magma 101 presentation that was done at the Open Infrastructure Conference a couple of weeks ago. And we will post a link to that video and to the slides that go with it on Magma Announce later this evening or tomorrow, or tomorrow. Kendall, would it be possible for you to make a note of that and help me get that posted?
Yeah.
Oh, and Jonathan just posted it on the chat.
Yeah.
The video link on the chat of this message. Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, I got it. It's on the Open Infra Summit keynotes. Day one. Yeah.
Not the keynote. This would be a slightly more detailed presentation that was done during the body of that same conference.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or?
Oh, if there's no question, I would like to say something about our project. I asked the question about the license of Magma on the Slack. Yeah, and Jonathan answered my question. I'm happy to. I really appreciate your answer. After that, I checked the license difference between BSD3 and up to, I think BSD3 is a very good license. And in the last week, 2 weeks ago, I joined the OAI workshop in Beijing. I found that OAI project is used OAI special public license. So, and I also searched on internet. Someone said it's not open actually. It's not that open, but BSD3 is really an open license. Yeah, it will be helpful for open source project. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We just, as a matter of background, the Magma project is very interested in seeing Magma gain widespread use, both as is, and we're open to people taking components of Magma and integrating them into other projects. Frankly, both open projects and commercial projects. And because of that, we quite intentionally chose the BSD3 license because we believe that open distribution and open sharing of the project is in the interest of everyone. That doing things to help make it easier to connect people to the internet and to connect people to data services is a great value to the community and to the world, and that's why we're doing it. So I'm glad that the BSD3 license structure is something that you appreciated and were able to share with your leadership and get approval of. So
yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. By the way, I am more confident with the projects from OpenStack Foundation or from these foundations. In my opinion, I think the OAI is a more academic one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Students and
actually,
teachers from university.
Yes, actually, that is quite true. And OAI says that they are focused on academic and research projects, and they have teamed with Magma and we'll treat Magma as the, I don't want to say commercial because it's more open source, but
Okay.
the production version of the core. And in the 4G case, we worked with OAI collaboratively, and they have recently withdrawn further development of their 4G core and have committed to Magma as their 4G core. And we see the evolution of the 5G projects and collaboration with OAI going the same direction, that they may be doing things that are independent now to support their research goals, but in the long term, those things will be contributed back through Magma and be made available more generally and in a more packaged product.
Yes, yes. So I don't know if there will be some problem if their code merged into Magma project because the license is different. And OAI public license, you can't merge the code together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
go
so
ahead,
what
Amar.
they did, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Phil.
No, please.
Yeah, so what happened on the 4G side is that OAI relicensed their code to be BSD3, and then they're contributing back. So the 4G core is merged back and is all under BSD3. A little bit of historical context also is that Magma started with the OAI core because while I do think that some of what they were doing is pretty academic in the sense that they were not like production grade from like memory leaks and stuff like that. The skeleton of their architecture and everything is pretty Erlangish. And so we actually really liked what they had done with the architecture. And so Magma was originally based on the OAI stack. And so they relicensed it as part of this merger in 2020 as in BSD3. OAI still has a 5G core that's licensed under the OAI public license. But I believe the Open Software Alliance, which is the parent organization of OAI, is positioning that as a research core and Magma as the more production variant of it. So some of the engineers in OSA, like Lionel and Rafael, they're actually maintainers of the Magma repo, and so they're contributing all of the production code into Magma. So they do have a notion of a research core and a production core, basically, and so they're implementing a lot of experimental stuff on the research side.
No, okay, thank you.
So I see a comment in the chat that regarding some of the files in the docs folder on GitHub are quite old and they haven't been updated in a couple of years. And could you please make them up to date? Amar, are you able to comment on the status and plans for updating the documentation?
If you don't mind filing GitHub issues, that would be spectacular because at least as far as we know, it's up to date. There are obviously blind spots, and if you file GitHub issues, we can be pretty responsive.
Thanks, Amar. Anything else? Please, we're here to answer your questions.
And Horace mentioned this in chat, but if anyone, I see we have a lot of attendees from China, so if anyone would prefer to speak Chinese, Horace is happy to translate and help us communicate in Chinese as well.
Yes，我因为线上同学也蛮多的，如果国内的同学想要问用中文问的话也可以，然后我可以帮忙翻译一下，然后我看到祥总有问题。 不好意思，因为刚刚在那个处理一些其他的事情，有人回复你了吗，祥总？
刚才应该是回复了，祥总。
OK，cool。
已经回复了，谢谢，
哦，太好了，这么多朋友。Okay, so if there's no other question, I would like ask another question. What's the IPR policy for our community, for our project? Rand or royalty free? Thank you.
It is not FRAND, it is royalty free.
Good. That's a real open source project.
It is a real open source project, and we're actually very proud of operating it that way, and think again that that's best for the community because it encourages use of the software.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to let things linger too long. Would love to hear. I'm sure there's more questions out there, but if things are winding down. So there's a note on the chat from Vance that asks, has the Federation Gateway been enhanced to selectively use the internal and external OCS, PCRF, HSS individually? So if I understand can they be selected one at a time?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So yeah, so it's available in 1.3. So the latest subversion of 1.3 is 1.3.2. So we actually have a partner who's launched with this. So it seems to be working.
And by this, Amar, you mean to be able to selectively choose
that's right.
those elements?
That's so either federate the OCS only or PCRF only or HSS only. Until 1.3, it was a global switch. So you either use the OCS, PCRF, and HSS in the orchestrator or use a third-party one. With 1.3, there's fidelity. So you can decide to use either GX, GY, or S6A, or all of the above.
Thank you, Amar. Vance, I hope that answered your question.
Well, it does, and that's good news. I guess I did misspeak. There is no internal OCS, but there's it's the GY interface that you either enable or disable, right? So you can selectively enable and disable GY, GX, and S6A. Okay, that's good.
That's right. So the way that like Sonar, who's one of our partners, implements GY is by syncing a metrics stream. So you can configure that on Prometheus. So that gives you it gives you more of a monitoring update, I would say, than full-fledged GY, but it's like a poor man's GY, I would say. But yeah, so you can enable that or disable that independent of OCS or PCRF.
Okay, well that makes things easier for people. In our first integration with SigScale OCS, we had to implement the S6A and the GX interface as well to just get the OCS. But that's great. Thanks.
Yeah. Actually, it was feedback from you that drove this feature. So thanks for the feedback.
Great.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for sharing. This is my first time attending this conference. I have several questions. I saw your sharing about the, let me see, your plan for the release for the lab demo. I see there is a connection to the tip MVC. So my first question will be, if the Magma project, only treats the MVC as upstream, or it will do some enhancement.
So that's actually a very excellent question. Thank you. No, the MVC is just a starting place. As we develop the software, it's a way to get the basic capability and basic call processing capabilities functioning and to a level that they can be used. And then our intent is to continue laddering in additional capabilities and additional features and tightening the integration between the 4G and 5G components of Magma. So it is a starting point for future development, and we have views to enhance the 5G capabilities to be suitable for private 5G services, which will be another layer of capabilities that we'll have to add on. And then ultimately, as a long-term goal, a reach goal, to fully support the enhanced mobile broadband model of 5G services. So it's just a starting point, and we intend to, through both through the community development and through some of the teams that have been contributing so far, to continue adding features on top of that.
Okay, that's very clear. So the Magma project will maintain an independent, a relatively independent branch of the MVC.
So perhaps it's a good thing for me to take that question and explain a bit about the relationship between Magma and TIP's OCN project. The TIP OCN is developing a set of requirements and specifications built on some model use cases for open networks. And all TIP projects are open to publishing that specification and having many developers or many organizations try to prove capability against those specifications. TIP itself, in general, doesn't develop product directly. There's a couple of places where they've strayed from that charter, but in general, they're not developing product. Magma is operating in association with TIP. We're not part of TIP per se. We do have a collaboration agreement with TIP that says we will agree to implement against the open core network specifications as they're published. But Magma itself remains independent of TIP. So there's not a notion of maintaining a separate branch. What we're developing is Magma, and Magma will have releases that are compliant with TIP specification, but that's not the only thing Magma is building to, or the only thing Magma is. And I hope that's clear. It's independent of TIP, but operating in a collaboration with them to implement an example, or if you want to call it a reference example, of the TIP OCN specifications.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. That's more clear to me. My last question will be: is there any related code uploaded to the Magma repo?
I'm sorry, is there any what?
I mean, did any code related to the MVC, the reference implementation in Magma, that already uploaded? Is there any code?
Yeah, I got it. We on the Magma project, we're building using a pull to master model, where we're keeping the code in the master branch at all times. and several parts of the 5G code have already been merged into the master branch, although they're incomplete and untested at this point. They are there and they're open to inspection. And perhaps one of the easiest ways to take a look and get a sense for what's there is to go to GitHub, and in the pull requests for Magma/Magma, the Magma project itself, take a look at the tags that are associated with the pull requests. And the 5G tags are all related to the OCN 5G work.
Okay, I got it. Thanks.
We're trying very hard as a project to be as open and transparent in this whole process as we can be, and look forward to having the community comment and participate in that. Would you mind sharing what company you're representing?
Yeah, I'm from Huawei.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else? We're about 44 minutes into our meeting. We still have 15 or so minutes on what we've scheduled, and would love to hear from more of you.
Yes, I have talked with a senior OpenStacker. So we would like to know what's the difference between Magna community and the traditional OpenStack community, how to join the project, the development model, and yeah, the contribution like this. Yeah.
Okay. I think the easiest way to join would be to come to the Magma Slack, and in the general channel, introduce the participation that you would like to have in the project itself. The only requirement today is that you're willing to sign your code if you make any commits against a CDO or a signature statement that basically is your representation about the ownership of the code that you're contributing. I think there is some discussion as we formalize the project and become a little bit mature that we may have to do something a little bit more formal than that, but that's probably things to be announced at a later date. But it is a very open community. Again, the Slack is the best way to introduce yourself and to start working with the project. Ultimately, code to be contributed has to be approved by the maintainers of the project. So you would have to go through a process of showing the code that you want to contribute and going through a review process with the maintainers. But that's not different than most other mature open source projects.
Okay, thank you. So, could you please help to compare it as Magma community with traditional OpenStack community? Like in OpenStack community, we use IRC. This, yeah. Here we use Slack.
Sure. Yeah, I can chime in on this too. So as Phil said, it uses a lot of the same principles that we have across the various open infrastructure projects, including OpenStack. So there are open communication channels for everything. So there's the Slack is sort of the chat communication channel instead of IRC. But anyone can join and start communicating there. There's also mailing lists for email posts and discussions. And then for code review, instead of Garrett, the project uses GitHub. So github.com/magma has several repos under there, including some that describe the community processes, and you can find all of that at magmacore.org. The code review process, though, is very similar to like a standard OpenStack workflow where you propose changes, and then the different components have maintainers who are responsible for that section of the code base, and they're required to approve it and then merge it into into the branch. So it's similar to what would be core reviewers in an OpenStack project. So the processes are similar. Some of the tools are different, but the overall principles and processes, I would say, are pretty similar.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Philip.
Anyone else? Okay, well, unless there are further questions, and please feel free to speak up as we're wrapping things up, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, or this morning, for most of the attendees from China and other APAC countries. Wanted to let you know that we are going to be holding these community meetings every month, and we're trying to do one in a North America and Europe friendly time, and the next one at an APAC friendly time slot. So the January meeting will be held in the morning, California time, and then the February meeting will be held again in this time slot, and we hope that that works out for each of you. Would love to remind everyone and invite you to join us for the Magma Developers Conference on February 3rd. Again, we'll be posting periodically in the Magma Announce with links to that session. And unless there are other questions or other conversation people want to bring up, then I'm going to go ahead and recommend that we bring this meeting to a close. Before we do close that, I will note that Jonathan just dropped the information about the Developers Conference in the chat window. So we'll leave this bridge active. We won't close it and have it all disappear on you for a couple of minutes as we bring things to a close. So thank you all very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Amar, for joining us and taking people's questions this evening. Hello? And with that, I think we can probably bring the meeting to a close. Thank you.
Thanks,
everybody.
Phil. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank
you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
morning. Have a good evening, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.